Here's the thing. Here's the thing a lot of Calvinists ignore, is that Paul gives his own synopsis and commentary here. Uh-oh. And his explanation does not fit the explanation of Calvinism. Romans 9:30. What shall we say then? That the Gentiles which followed not after righteousness have attained to righteousness, even the righteousness which is of faith? The Gentiles have obtained righteousness by faith, ladies and gentlemen, and so have many Jews. No, there's no righteousness outside of faith. Romans 4:3. For what saith the Scripture? Abraham believed God. Abraham believed God. Abraham, it goes all the way back then. Abraham believed God and it was counted unto him for righteousness. That predates the law of Moses, people. And Romans 9:7-8, okay, shows that this is a rule even for Abraham's natural seed. That is, they which are the children of the flesh, these are not the children of God, but the children of the promise are counted for the seed. Some natural seed are saved, Romans 11:1. I say then, hath God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite, the seed of Abraham of the tribe of Benjamin. But it is not by heritage. It's not by heritage that gets you saved. John 1:12-13. But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name, which were born not of blood, not of heritage, in other words. And it is not by their own righteousness, as natural Israel corporately believes. Romans 10:3-4. For they being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of God. For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth. Now, Christ is not the end, meaning he ended the law. Some people misinterpret that. It doesn't mean he ended the law. As a matter of fact, he himself said he didn't come to destroy it, but to fulfill it. The word end here is goal. That's what it means. Christ is the goal of the law. Okay? We see this in Galatians 3:24. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith. Galatians 3:29. And if ye be Christ's, then are ye Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. You have become the spiritual seed of Abraham. Romans 9:31. But Israel, which followed after the law of righteousness, hath not attained to the law of righteousness. Israel, not individual people, the nation. The nation. This is a reference to national, ethnic Israel. Moving on to verses 32 and 33. Wherefore, because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law. For they stumbled at the stumbling stone. As it is written, behold, I lay in Zion a stumbling stone and rock of offense, that whosoever believeth on him shall not be ashamed. Again, just like the context has been showing and revealing all along, national Israel was not the Israel by faith. They believe they're saved based on their own personal righteousness, not realizing it is filthy rags, as their scriptures say, and the fact that they are of Hebraic heritage. They think their lineage and works save them. Because they put their oral law, which was supposed to be commentary in the beginning, on the same level as God's written law, they rejected the very Messiah as he rejected their oral law, and yet kept the written law perfectly. The law that came down through Moses, not the rabbinical writings that were codified and written down. We're talking about the law of Moses. And Jesus is that stumbling stone. 1 Peter 2:5-8. Ye also as lively stones are built up a spiritual house, an holy priesthood, to offer up spiritual sacrifices acceptable to God by Jesus Christ. Wherefore also it is contained in the scripture. Behold, I lay in Zion a chief cornerstone, elect, precious. There's that word elect. Precious. And he that believeth on him shall not be confounded. Unto you therefore which believe he is precious. But unto them which be disobedient, the stone which the builders disallowed, the same is made the head of the corner, and a stone of stumbling, and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word, being disobedient, whereunto also they were appointed. And not to beat the point to death, the next verse is the one that calls spirit. The next verse is one where we know that spiritual Israel is a nation. 1 Peter 2:9 says we are a holy nation. And Peter continues in verse 10, which in time past were not a people, but are now the people of God, which had obtained mercy, but now have obtained mercy. We didn't have it before. We got it now. National Israel, ladies and gentlemen, had no faith, so they rejected Jesus. But the holy nation of spiritual Israel comprised of both Gentiles, who were not a people, but are now a people, and the believing remnant of physical Israel, Jew and Gentile, is now the people of God obtaining his mercy. The context all over Romans 9 is the lack of faith of the nation of physical Israel. And Paul gives 7 counter-arguments against the Jewish argument that they were the righteous ones because of their heritage. Abraham had other kids, yes, but through Isaac would come the promise. Neither Isaac nor Jacob were firstborn. Okay? Esau and Jacob were representative of their descendants, as Esau never served Jacob, but Edom did serve Israel. God can show mercy on whomever he pleases, and has chosen to show mercy to spiritual Israel, comprised again of both Jew and Gentile, rather than the unbelieving nation of Israel. Not only so, but God shows how to obtain that mercy. God can harden who he wants for his purposes, and has chosen to harden physical Israel due to their unbelief. The created Jew is no one to argue with its creator, God, about what God has chosen to do. God endured physical Israel's lack of faith off and on for thousands of years, and now he chose to make physical Israel a vessel of wrath, and spiritual Israel, which again is comprised of both believing Jews and believing Gentiles, a vessel of honor. I am going to whip that horse until it's dead, because we need to understand spiritual Israel is comprised of Jews as well. Some people are members of both nations, of national Israel and of spiritual Israel by faith. National Israel because they were born Jews. Physical Israel because, or national Israel, let me try this again. National Israel because they were born Jews. That's the physical Israel. But then spiritual Israel because they have faith in Jesus Christ as the Messiah. God showed what would happen through his very prophets.